In the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean lies a tiny island nation with a story that defies belief. Nauru, a mere 21 square kilometers in size, was once an obscure speck on the map, known only to a handful of seafarers and colonial powers. Its history began long before European contact, with a people who lived in harmony with the limited resources of their isolated home. The late 19th century brought change as German colonizers arrived, claiming the island for their empire. This marked the beginning of Nauru's integration into the global stage, albeit as a pawn in the games of greater powers. The island's fate took another turn following the First World War when Australia assumed control, setting the stage for future developments that would reshape Nauru's destiny. Life on Nauru before its transformation was simple and challenging. The islanders subsisted mainly on fish from the surrounding waters and crops grown in the fertile strips near the shore. The interior of the island, with its harsh, rocky landscape, offered little in terms of arable land. This limitation seemed to consign Nauru to a future of modest means and limited opportunities. However, beneath the surface lay a treasure that would catapult this tiny nation into the spotlight of global economics. In 1900, prospectors discovered high-quality phosphate deposits, a vital component in fertilizers. This discovery would prove to be both a blessing and a curse, fundamentally altering the course of Nauru's history. The initial challenges faced by Nauru were numerous. Its extreme isolation made communication and trade difficult. Infrastructure was virtually non-existent, necessitating significant investment to exploit the newfound resources. Moreover, the island's small population lacked the expertise to manage large-scale mining operations, leading to reliance on foreign companies and workers. As the 20th century progressed, Nauru found itself at a crossroads. The phosphate industry, controlled by foreign interests, began to gain momentum. The island's landscape was gradually transformed as mining operations expanded, literally eating away at the nation's limited landmass. This period of pre-transformation set the stage for dramatic changes. The people of Nauru, witnessing the exploitation of their island's resources by outsiders, began to question their place in this new economic reality. The seeds of independence and control over their natural wealth were sown, leading to decisions that would soon shock the world. As we reflect on this chapter of Nauru's history, several questions arise. How does a nation balance the exploitation of its natural resources with long-term sustainability? What are the consequences of rapid economic transformation on a small, isolated community? And perhaps most importantly, how does a people maintain their identity and culture in the face of such dramatic change? The story of Nauru's origin and early challenges serves as a cautionary tale about the complexities of development and the unforeseen consequences of resource exploitation. It invites us to consider the delicate balance between progress and preservation, and the responsibility that comes with sudden wealth. As we delve deeper into Nauru's journey, we'll explore how this tiny island nation navigated these challenges, made pivotal decisions, and ultimately faced the consequences of its choices. The tale of Nauru is not just about an island, it's a microcosm of global economic forces, environmental concerns, and the human capacity for both ingenuity and short-sightedness. The transformation of Nauru from an obscure island to a wealthy nation was driven by a series of bold, disruptive decisions that reshaped its economic and political landscape. At the forefront of this change was the push for independence, which Nauru achieved in 1968. This marked a pivotal moment in the nation's history, as it gained control over its destiny and, more importantly, its valuable phosphate reserves. Leading this charge was Hammer de Robert, Nauru's first president and a visionary leader who recognized the potential of the island's resources. Under his guidance, Nauru made the revolutionary decision to nationalize the phosphate industry in 1970. This move wrested control from foreign companies and placed the wealth directly in the hands of the Nauruan people. The creation of the Nauru Phosphate Royalties Trust was another game-changing strategy. This trust was designed to invest the profits from phosphate mining into a diverse portfolio of international assets, theoretically securing the nation's financial future beyond the depletion of its primary resource. Nauru's leadership also made the ambitious decision to establish a national airline, Air Nauru. This move was intended to combat the island's isolation and boost its international prestige. It was a symbol of the nation's newfound wealth and aspirations, connecting this tiny island to the wider world. These decisions transformed Nauru almost overnight. From a dependent territory, it became a sovereign nation with control over a lucrative resource. The influx of wealth allowed for rapid development, with the government providing free education, healthcare, and even housing to its citizens. Nauru's per capita income skyrocketed, briefly making it one of the richest nations in the world. However, these disruptive decisions also sowed the seeds of future challenges. The focus on phosphate extraction came at a severe environmental cost, with vast swathes of the island rendered uninhabitable due to mining. The heavy investment in foreign assets exposed Nauru to the volatilities of the global financial market. The story of Nauru's disruptive decisions raises profound questions about the nature of progress and the responsibilities of leadership. How does a small nation balance the immediate benefits of resource exploitation with long-term sustainability? What are the pitfalls of rapid wealth accumulation, especially for a society unprepared for such dramatic change? Moreover, Nauru's experience invites us to reflect on the meaning of true independence in an interconnected world. Can a nation dependent on a single resource ever be truly self-reliant? How does a country maintain its cultural identity and social cohesion in the face of rapid modernization and wealth? These decisions, made in a spirit of optimism and ambition, would have far-reaching consequences that continue to shape Nauru's reality today. They serve as a stark reminder of the complexities inherent in nation-building and resource management, especially for small states with limited options. As we continue to explore Nauru's journey, we'll see how these disruptive decisions played out, leading to unforeseen challenges and ultimately forcing the nation to confront the limitations of its economic miracle. The tale of Nauru stands as a powerful lesson in the potential and pitfalls of resource-driven development, offering insights that resonate far beyond the shores of this tiny Pacific island. Nauru's meteoric rise to wealth was fundamentally tied to its strategic resource, phosphate. The identification of this valuable mineral in 1900 marked the beginning of a new era for the island. Phosphate, a crucial component in fertilizers, became the cornerstone of Nauru's economy and the key to its brief period of extraordinary prosperity. The transformation of this resource into national wealth was a process that required both vision and technical expertise. Nauru's leadership recognized that controlling the extraction and sale of phosphate was essential to maximizing the benefits for their people. They invested in developing efficient mining techniques, allowing for large-scale extraction of the high-quality phosphate deposits that lay beneath the island's surface. What set Nauru's phosphate apart was its exceptional quality. The phosphate found on the island was among the purest in the world, making it highly sought after in the global market. This competitive advantage allowed Nauru to command premium prices for its exports, fueling the nation's rapid economic growth. The government's direct control over the resource was a crucial differentiating factor. Unlike many other resource-rich countries where foreign corporations held significant sway, Nauru maintained tight control over its phosphate industry. This allowed for a greater share of the profits to remain within the country. funding ambitious social programs and infrastructure development. However, the focus on this single resource came with inherent risks. The intensive mining operations began to take a toll on the island's environment. Large portions of Nauru's interior were stripped bare, leaving a moonscape of jagged limestone pinnacles in place of the once lush tropical vegetation. This environmental degradation would later pose significant challenges for the nation's future development and sustainability. Moreover, the heavy reliance on phosphate made Nauru vulnerable to market fluctuations. As the primary driver of the economy, any change in global phosphate demand or pricing could have outsized effects on the nation's financial stability. The story of Nauru's strategic resource raises important questions about the nature of wealth and sustainable development. How can a nation balance the exploitation of its natural resources with environmental preservation? What are the long-term consequences of basing an entire economy on a non-renewable resource? Furthermore, Nauru's experience invites reflection on the concept of intergenerational responsibility. How should the benefits of resource extraction be shared between current and future generations? What obligations do leaders have to ensure the long-term viability of their nation's economy and environment? The tale of Nauru's phosphate wealth is a stark reminder of both the opportunities and pitfalls that come with abundant natural resources. It highlights the importance of diversification and sustainable planning, even in times of plenty. As we continue to explore Nauru's journey, we'll see how the nation's reliance on this strategic resource shaped its destiny, leading to unforeseen challenges and ultimately forcing a reckoning with the limitations of resource-driven prosperity. The lessons from Nauru's experience with its strategic resource extend far beyond this tiny island nation. They offer valuable insights for all countries grappling with the complexities of resource management and economic development. In an increasingly interconnected and environmentally conscious world, Nauru's transformation from an obscure Pacific island to a wealthy nation had repercussions that extended far beyond its shores. The rise of this microstate rich in phosphate resources altered regional dynamics and captured global attention, demonstrating how even the smallest nations could wield significant economic power. In the geopolitical arena, Nauru's success story became a point of interest and study. Its ability to control and profit from its natural resources served as an example for other small nations and territories, seeking to assert their economic independence. This shift in power dynamics challenged traditional notions of influence in the Pacific region, as Nauru gained leverage in its dealings with larger, more established countries. The phosphate industry, central to Nauru's wealth, had a substantial impact on global agriculture. Nauru's high-quality phosphate became a crucial component in fertilizers used worldwide, contributing to increased agricultural productivity in many countries. This positioned the tiny island as an important player in the global food supply chain, highlighting the interconnectedness of the modern world economy. Nauru's sudden wealth also led to its emergence as an unexpected financial power. The nation's investments, made through the Nauru Phosphate Royalties Trust, spread across the globe, including significant real estate holdings in Australia and other countries. This financial reach gave Nauru influence disproportionate to its size, albeit temporarily. The country's economic success story became a subject of international fascination. Nauru was frequently cited as having one of the highest per capita incomes in the world during its peak, drawing attention to the potential of resource-driven development. This narrative of a rags to riches nation captured the imagination of many and influenced discussions on economic development strategies for small states. However, Nauru's impact extended beyond economics. Its experience raised important questions about sustainable development and the responsibilities of resource-rich nations. The environmental degradation resulting from phosphate mining became a cautionary tale, highlighting the need for balanced approaches to resource exploitation. Nauru's journey prompts us to consider several critical questions. How does the success or failure of a small nation like Nauru affect global economic and environmental policies? What lessons can be drawn from Nauru's experience in managing sudden wealth for other resource-rich, developing nations? Moreover, Nauru's story invites reflection on the nature of global interdependence. How vulnerable are small, resource-dependent economies to shifts in the global market? What responsibilities do larger nations have in supporting the sustainable development of smaller states? The global impact of Nauru's rise and fall extends into discussions about climate change and the future of island nations. As one of the world's smallest countries, Nauru's experience with environmental degradation serves as a microcosm for the challenges faced by island nations, threatened by rising sea levels and changing global conditions. In the realm of international relations, Nauru's story underscores the complex interplay between economic power, sovereignty, and global influence. It demonstrates how economic circumstances can rapidly alter a nation's standing on the world stage, for better or worse. As we continue to examine Nauru's journey, we see that its global impact goes far beyond its small size. The nation's experience offers valuable insights into resource management, economic development, and the challenges of sustainability in an interconnected world. Nauru's story remains relevant today, providing lessons and cautionary tales for nations, policymakers, and global citizens alike. The rise and fall of Nauru's economy is a tale best told through numbers, and these figures are nothing short of astonishing. At its peak in the 1970s, Nauru boasted one of the highest per capita incomes in the world, a statistic that seems almost unbelievable for a tiny island nation in the middle of the Pacific. During its economic zenith, Nauru's gross domestic product per capita reached levels that rivaled and even surpassed those of global economic powerhouses. Some estimates put this figure at over $50,000 per person, adjusted for inflation. This placed Nauru's citizens, at least on paper, among the wealthiest people on the planet. The source of this wealth, phosphate mining, transformed the physical landscape of Nauru in dramatic fashion. Over 80% of the island's 21 square kilometers was mined for phosphate. This staggering figure represents one of the most intensive resource extractions ever undertaken on a single island. Nauru's phosphate reserves were estimated at approximately 90 million tons when mining began. By the time the reserves neared exhaustion, Nauru had exported close to 80 million tons of phosphate. This massive extraction over a relatively short period highlights the intensity of the mining operations and the finite nature of the resource. The wealth generated from phosphate allowed Nauru to establish an impressive trust fund. At its peak, the Nauru Phosphate Royalties Trust was estimated to be worth well over $1 billion, an extraordinary sum for a nation with a population of less than 10,000 people. Nauru's economic growth during its boom years was exponential. In the decade following independence, the nation's GDP grew at an average annual rate of over 20%, a pace that few economies in history have matched over a sustained period. The contrast between Nauru's boom and bust is equally striking. From being one of the wealthiest nations per capita, Nauru's fortunes reversed dramatically. By the early 2000s, unemployment on the island had soared to over 90%, one of the highest rates in the world. These numbers raise profound questions. How does a nation manage such rapid economic growth? What are the long-term implications of exhausting a non-renewable resource at such a pace? How can a country transition from resource-dependent wealth to a sustainable economy? The stark figures of Nauru's rise and fall also prompt us to reflect on the nature of wealth itself. Can a nation be considered truly wealthy if its prosperity is built on a finite resource? What is the real cost of economic development that comes at the expense of environmental degradation? Nauru's experience serves as a powerful case study in the pitfalls of resource-driven growth. It illustrates how impressive economic statistics can mask underlying vulnerabilities and unsustainable practices. The island's journey from boom to bust in just a few decades is a cautionary tale about the importance of diversification and long-term planning in economic development. As we consider these numbers, we're compelled to think about the human stories behind them. How did the lives of ordinary Nauruans change during this period of extreme wealth? And how have they coped with the subsequent economic collapse? The dramatic rise and fall of Nauru's economy, as told through these startling statistics, offers valuable lessons for other nations, particularly those rich in natural resources. It underscores the need for sustainable development practices and the dangers of over-reliance on a single economic sector. Nauru's numerical story is one of extremes: extreme wealth, extreme resource extraction, and extreme reversal of fortunes. These numbers paint a vivid picture of a nation that experienced one of the most remarkable economic transformations in modern history, serving as both an object of fascination and a sobering reminder of the fragility of resource-based prosperity.